So I'm adjusting the top of the pelvis, bringing it from posterior to inferior to its neutral position. Leg out and resist and resist. Better. Hi everyone, Dr. David Kulla here to talk about the psoas muscle, such a unique muscle. This is the only muscle that attaches the spine, the lower back spine, from 12th thoracic vertebra, right about here, to the very bottom lumbar vertebra, L5. And it's the only muscle that connects the spine to the legs, okay, or to the hip joint. So that being said, this muscle is unique in so many other ways. I've done some videos on the psoas muscle, so be sure to watch that and some of my favorite stretches and exercises. But this video here is about determining whether or not a patient has a weak psoas or an overstretched psoas, or whether a patient has a strong psoas, or so there's imbalance with the psoas, right? And we want to make sure that the psoas isn't tight on one side and weak on the other side, right? So we have to differentiate between the two. It's not just, most people just think, oh, let's just go stretch the psoas on the side of the back pain or hip pain, and it doesn't always work out that way. And I'm gonna show you an example of that. Okay, so she has back pain on the right side with hip pain in the front of the right hip. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So front of the right hip, and what you would think is, okay, well, I got to stretch my psoas on that right side. So what I did was I wanted to look further into it. Now, her hip is pulled back on the right side and down, okay? Posterior and inferior based on the sacroiliac joint. So that pelvis is pulled back and down, not the hip, sorry. And the pelvis on the other side is forward, okay? So what I did was I checked her psoas muscle. So we have a couple of ways to do that, and it's very hard for you as a layperson to do this, really hard. Even if you had somebody muscle testing you, because it takes years of practice. I've been doing this for 22 years, so I can feel a muscle weak, strong, just by a light touch, right? And then you also have, it takes a lot of time. Not 22 years to practice, but it certainly takes a long time and a lot of muscle checks to perfect it. But we're gonna go ahead and turn her over on her back. I'm not going to adjust her yet. And we're going to check her psoas muscle. And one of the ways I do that, this is a great test. Right here is just an arm test. It doesn't work for everybody, especially if you have a shoulder problem. This may not be accurate, okay? But with her, it happens to be accurate. I've tested this before with her. And her right arm, and many of you can't see it, but her right arm is shorter. So I matched the wrists, and her left arm is shorter. So that tells me that probably her psoas muscle is tight on that left side, but I have to further check it, right? So now it's saying that the muscle's tight on the left side. We're gonna muscle test the psoas muscle on both sides. Now remember, her pelvis is tilted and torqued. Now typically with a tight psoas, your pelvis is going to come forward on that side. What did I just say? We checked her arms. Her arm was shorter on this side, and her pelvis on this side was actually forward. And that's why she was getting that pain in here, because it's tilted forward. Okay, so far it matches up, but let's double check, triple check, okay? Now we're gonna go to the psoas muscle, and this is how we test the psoas muscle. So we're gonna keep your leg up, and 1, 2, 3, hold. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, hold. And she's weaker on this side. Do you notice that? We're weaker on this side. Do it again. And 1, 2, 3, resist. And 1, 2, 3, resist. It's weaker. Not a huge difference. It's very subtle, but that's all it takes to pick up on this. So now we know she either has a tight psoas here or a weak psoas here, or both, right? So we're gonna go ahead and adjust her. So lay on this side. We're gonna adjust the pelvis to balance the length of the psoas muscle. So I'm adjusting the top of the pelvis, bringing it from posterior to inferior to its neutral position, okay? And then the other side up. And now we're taking the left pelvis, and putting it from posterior to inferior to neutral position, and that one pulling it back from the lower part of the pelvis. Sorry, I mixed those two up, but relax here. And relax. Good. Now lay on your back. Now I'm going to adjust T12 for her because the psoas muscle attaches from T12 down. And cross your arms and tuck your chin down. Take a deep breath in. Come on up. And blow all the way out. Great. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna recheck the psoas muscle. Arms up. Arms are now even. That's a good sign, obviously, but we wanna check further. So we said that this left psoas was tight, this one was weak. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna check that again. Pelvis is balanced now, so leg out and resist. Okay, and resist. Better. Then when we go in here, typically the overstretch is not gonna, you're gonna feel it's not as bound up in here. It's not gonna be probably as sensitive. Most people are gonna be sensitive, period, in that area. Which side's more sensitive? And I could feel this one. Yeah, and I can feel this one is tighter. But you have what pain on the front of what hip? The opposite hip. So you're thinking, wait a minute, my right hip hurts. Let me stretch my right hip and my right psoas muscle. And that's actually wrong. You want to stretch your left psoas. So you're overstretching this psoas, okay? So I want you to start stretching the left one, okay? Just for the next few weeks. And, you know, I go into the psoas muscle so much more in another video we just released. So take a look at that. I mean, it has a lot to do with your breathing and emotions, and it's a huge muscle and a very important one that's overlooked by health experts and misunderstood by health experts. So that's a little bit about the psoas muscle, finding out the imbalances of the psoas. You know, is it a tight psoas or is it a weak psoas? You know, so those things need to be determined so you can get the right treatment protocol to fix your back pain. So I hope that helps. Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. If you got anything from this video, or even if you just like this view of the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building, give me a like and don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate you guys.